So rice, this is a yield. And this isn't a yield, how many people here grow rice? Someday, that's going to change.
Currently waiting on a research grant for
Fantastic. All right, thank you. You made me feel so much better. So rice is not something a lot of us think about. We just started growing rice this year, so even like 2 years ago I probably wasn't thinking about this. This is a rice paddy in Vermont, Whole Systems Design. And that's part of 2 rice paddies that were built. And the yields for this are water storage. Very little water left this site during Hurricane Irene in Vermont. Down the road, the Mad River was taking houses off their foundations, and he was watching a little bit of water trickle out of the last water system because it was just this huge buffer. It was like a huge wetland, just absorbing water, absorbing water. It was full, and then it slowly started to trickle out, and the storm was over. So it's absorbing water, it's creating wildlife habitat, it's replacing lost functions of wetlands that have been filled in Vermont and in other places. It's beautiful to look at. It's probably one of my favorite things. It creates a food crop. Oh, there's a whole other yield. There's food that comes out of it. And you have, in this case, a garden, big garden, annual and perennial garden in ducks up the hill from this. The ducks like to be near a pond. What do ducks do? They poop a lot. So you have poopy duck water. What do you do with poopy duck water? You put it downhill into a rice paddy because rice likes nutrient-rich water. And the nutrients never really are leaving the system. They're being used by the rice and more nutrients are coming in. So the yields here, we're looking for multiple functions. That's a permaculture thing. Like with each of these interventions, and I can't hit on all of them because I have to make sure we leave time. So, but with each of these things, there are multiple layers. They're doing multiple jobs. Just picture everything here is thought about enough, but it's doing multiple jobs. And another yield, that just to show that it's different, although these were all related to food. This is an online extension of our farmers market in Plymouth. It's called Local Foods Plymouth. And when it was started, for me, I said, this is a great idea. It wasn't my idea, it's a great idea. And I'm going to get easier access to local food. What I didn't realize was that I would get easier access to local food, but I'd also have to be a volunteer because it runs on volunteer assistance. And as a result, I was going to learn about foods that I wasn't raised eating and I didn't know how to prepare. I was going to get to meet the farmers who were dropping off the food. I was going to get to meet the patrons who are interested in local food and have all these great conversations about the challenges of growing local food and the opportunities and things that people were hoping to do and help connect people. So like friendships and knowledge, like the yields were really, really many. And I didn't even know that that was coming my way. The 4th principle is apply self-regulation and accept feedback. And this can be done a number of different ways. It can happen in a design process where we plant something and we realize it's not going to work out and we have to think about what we've done wrong and we can change it. This can also happen in thinking about our consumption patterns, getting back to that footprint image. So, mountaintop removal, this is happening. This is an extraordinary thing that's happening. It's very sad, but whole mountains are being taken down as an easy way to get to coal. And a lot of us are using electricity, me included, that may be coming from coal. And then rainforest removal in the upper left-hand corner, where huge areas of rainforest, we all know, are being removed on a daily basis for a short turnaround in agriculture, and then moving on and removing more rainforest. So the feedback for me is that I am part of creating both of these ecosystems. I have made decisions, some of which I may have made today, but I'm trying not to make decisions that contribute to these ecosystems. These are not places that I want to be part of creating on the planet. So that means I have to change. It means I have to be a conscious consumer and be part of it. When we first moved into Plymouth, we realized that we were actually, these pictures are as much for my family as anybody else, but these guys are a lot older now. So we realized that we'd moved to Plymouth and one of our things was we're moving into town because we're not going to drive as much. And we were driving just as much. We were just driving shorter distances. So one of the feedback things was if we move to town and we're not going to drive as much, how do you get 2 kids to school and to friends' houses and to sports and to things like that? What do? Well, you get your butt in a bike and you pull them in a bike trailer. And we were able to do that, and it was really effective. We did it as much as we could, and we never had a bad time. It was never like, oh, these kids are such a pain, and I'm on a bike. It was like, wow, this is great. Like, how much more can we do? And it was time efficient because we live in a town that's small, and for me to get in the car and drive and find parking and all that took about the same amount of time. And now they're big guys who can get on their own bikes because there's no way I'd be able to pull both of them now. They're way too heavy. So the fifth principle is using and valuing renewable resources and services. And David Holmgren wrote a book called Principles and Pathways, if any of you are interested. Principles and Pathways is focused on each of these principles. Each chapter is one of the principles. And he has a whole piece on this principle where he talks about the value of trees and all of the ecological services a tree is providing. Like you go out of your door every day and you may walk by a whole bunch of different trees, and I do the same. And we don't necessarily think about the value it has in the soil and all the things that are happening in the roots and the relationship between the roots and fungi and microorganisms. We don't think about how much air it's cleaning. We don't think about shade when we can sit underneath it. We don't think about the lumber or the cordwood or the soil building at the end of its life either. But these are all part of this one tree and all the trees on the hillside behind it. And that's just one element of the landscape we're talking about. It's providing all these services. Renewable resources and services could be solar hot water. This is a solar hot water, domestic solar hot water system we installed. So even in New Hampshire, believe it or not, the sun comes out. And it comes out Sunday. It was incredibly cold. We went skiing and checked the solar hot water. It was 106 degrees. It was not 106 degrees outside. It was below zero with the wind chill. So this is something that's going to work. It's not going to do all of our hot water. It never has in the years we've had it, but it does a significant amount. Because we know that most days it's going to be able to extract quite a bit of BTUs from the sun. So this is one what we call appropriate technology that can be used to meet our needs. Another one for renewable resources and services that I like to show are chicken tractors. This is like the token chicken tractor. I don't have an herb spiral picture. I have to get one from you guys. I'm supposed to have an herb spiral or a chicken tractor picture in every permaculture presentation. These are chicken tractors that we built because we wanted to have chickens on site because we wanted them to be part of building soil fertility. We were interested in a local source of eggs that we could either consume at home or we could sell. And chickens are pretty predictable. So they're fun. You should know that if you haven't had chicken. But they get up every day and they like stretch out and they go outside. And what do? Yep, so they may poop first. Okay, so maybe they poop first. Then they scratch and they peck and they eat bugs and they poop some more. And they eat some more grass and they scratch. So they do this. And what do they want? They want protection from predators. We have like a 50-50 track on that. They want water. They want food, additional food. They want a place to roost. And, they want other chickens, really. So you provide a chicken tractor and you give them a place, they will actually defoliate that place. So you give them a few days, let them do their work. They'll lay down a nice thick, mat of manure. There's not a lot left for them that's interesting. You slide them over and they're bright, but they're not geniuses. So they're like, whoa, grass! And then you start doing it all again. So think about that. And you can do similar things with goats, with sheep, with pigs. So you can use them in different ways for larger scale projects. Field clearing is one thing that's happening. A lot of people are using permaculture, and they're using slower solutions that involve animals in the conversion of fields to farmland. Producing no waste. Show of hands, anyone produce no waste? Okay, good. I've always asked it, so I'm afraid not to ask now, because I can't say I've always asked that. We all produce waste. There are some species that we live alongside with, like the earthworm, that help us recycle waste. Just picture this for a second. No earthworms and no fungi. Basically, everything that ever died would be around us. Every dead tree, every dead cat. Everything that ever died would just be piled up. We wouldn't go anywhere. So we have all these decomposers that are providing all this service. Sometimes we inhibit them. We don't let them do their job really well. Or we don't recycle the waste into the system. We have it hauled away out of sight. So a couple things I'm sure a lot of you are doing already is recycling. Reduce, reuse, recycle. That's good. That helps reduce the waste stream. Backyard composting. And Revive the Roots is setting up composting hopefully this year, so they'll have some additional composting opportunities for you to bring your yard waste and other waste. So these are two good things. These are ways that we can reduce a whole lot of what we call municipal solid waste. Stuff that your town or you yourself are paying to have hauled away and to be put in a hole in the ground and forever be a problem. A lot of this can actually become soil on the organic side. in Plymouth, where I live, 70% of what goes into the trash and we pay to haul away is organic waste. So how do we get that out? The other piece of this situation is, I don't know about all of you, but I go to the bathroom at least once a day. So there's a tremendous amount of human waste on the planet. And human waste, in some ways, has been dealt with really effectively to reduce disease, but it's created lots of other problems. So we found that we were buying organic food and food from local people, growing food and processing it really well with all of the organisms in our guts, and then putting it into a sewage system where it went under a barbed wire fence and became a problem. Because of like 10% of what goes in there kind of ruins the whole thing. So it becomes high energy, it becomes difficult to get rid of, it's not being used in the town to build soil. So we decided to keep our waste home and did that with a composting toilet. So that's to challenge you a little bit in thinking about what's waste and what's possible. And there are a lot, we could spend a lot of time. Actually, the high school students were really engaged in this, which I was actually kind of surprised. But you know, there are lots of ways you can do this to start building soil on